Hi, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to make some soup and some fresh rolls. The soup I'm making is one that's been really famous on the internet over the last few years. It's called loaded baked potato soup. You make it with ingredients right from the store shelf. There's no prepping and you cook it in the crock pot. How easy is that? Well, there is an incredible Southern cook that we sometimes make fun of here on this channel, and she made it and she pronounced it tasteless and said it was crap. So I just want to see for myself. I've never made it before. The recipe is everywhere, slight variations, and we'll see what happens. And I'm also going to make some homemade fresh rolls to go with.
Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Now there are a ton of recipes for this soup online, and it's called loaded baked potato soup, or sometimes just baked potato soup, and you make it in the crock pot. It will say crock pot baked potato soup. Just do a little search on YouTube or Google or something, and you will come up with dozens and dozens of versions of this that are all basically the same, but people put their slant on them. But the ingredients basically are a 24-ounce bag of hash browns. You can use either the diced or the shredded, a quart of chicken stock, a can of cream of chicken soup, some seasonings, and a block of cream cheese. Now, some of the recipes also call for grated cheddar cheese and bacon bits, 1 cup each. And the recipes that use them, many times they'll put 1¾ of a cup of each in the soup while it's cooking in the crock pot, and then save 1/4 for toppings. I'm just for dietary concerns, I'm not going to use any of the extra cheese or bacon in the soup, but I will use them for toppings. Okay, now I'm trying to stay out of the frame because I have rollers in my hair. But the first thing I will tell you is not all hash browns are created the same. The frozen hash browns is something I never buy. So I looked at all of them. I'm a low sodium cook. I looked at all of them, and these have 40 milligrams of sodium per serving. Some of them have 200 and more, because some of them are seasoned, and all of that I'm sure will make this soup delicious, but will be at odds with my diet. So I've added in this bag of frozen hash browns, thawed, my can of cream of chicken soup, and I used the Healthy Request. Again, canned soup, something I never ever buy. Even this Healthy Request, which is lower in sodium, has 410 milligrams per serving. Now this can says it's 2.5 servings, so 1,230 milligrams of sodium in this. I'm thinking that this is going to be at least 6, if not 8 servings of soup. I've put in my package of cream cheese. I diced it up into 8 or 10 pieces, and I added a quart of chicken stock. I always have homemade chicken stock because I make chicken for the dogs, so my chicken stock is no sodium. And you can see this isn't the quart I added. You can see it, the schmaltz rises to the top, the chicken fat, and I just take that off. So the one I used, I forgot to turn the recorder on. I scraped off the fat and then topped it up with some more chicken stock, so I had 1 quart. I turned the slow cooker to 5 hours. It says, most of the recipes say to cook it 3 to 6 hours. And I know a lot of that is depending on whether it's high or low, but the cooking times vary widely. I don't think it really matters. I'm going to check this at 3 hours. See how it's doing. Now for seasonings, of course it calls for salt, like a teaspoon of salt. I'm not going to add any salt because of that soup. But I will add black pepper. I'll use probably a good tablespoon of my organic no salt seasoning. Some of the recipes called for onion powder, some for dried minced onion, and some for a fresh onion diced. I would probably only put the fresh onion in here if I were to saute it first, and that kind of takes away some of the beauty of using the crock pot. Although I am using the Instant Pot, I could put it on the saute. But I'm going to go ahead and just use about 2 tablespoons of minced dried onion. Most of the recipes called for dried rosemary. I don't have any dried rosemary at the moment. I never buy it because I grow rosemary and dry it myself. I don't have any right now, and I'm not worried about it because I like thyme with potatoes. I love rosemary too, but I like thyme just as much, so thyme's going in. And I'll check on it in 3 hours. I probably will stir it maybe once in that time, although I don't think it's necessary. I think this is definitely something you can put in on low and leave it if you're not here. Now, nothing would go better with soup than a homemade roll. Now, in another video, Madam did manage to pull off some homemade roll. However, she used every bowl and pan in her kitchen and took all day. You all are totally worth it, but I don't roll that way. So I'm going to make these no-knead crusty yeast rolls. And this is a recipe that's been around for a long time, but if you want to see a really good demonstration of a bunch of no-knead breads, I recommend Jenny Can Cook. Remember Jenny Jones? She's just adorable. I'll remember to link her channel. So just use regular AP flour, all-purpose flour, and this is the trick that I got from Jenny. She says that you should aerate the flour, just like this. Just stir it up, but not to sift it. This is a recipe that's based on measurements, not weight. So just fluff up the flour, and then she recommends, instead of dipping your cup in, to spoon it in, which will further lighten the flour. And then just level it off. 2.5 cups flour. Now Jenny says she's used bread flour as well as regular flour and couldn't find a difference. Here's the part where you're going to think I'm crazy. 1/4 of a teaspoon yeast. That's all. This recipe also doesn't have any sugar to feed the yeast. Some people think that's required. The recipe asks for 1 teaspoon of salt. I know because I've made this before that I can get away with a 1/4 teaspoon and it'll turn out fine. And lastly, 1 1/4 cups of hot tap water. just right out of your tap. Stir it together. Now, even though this is no knead, I usually get in there with my hands and bring it to a ball just to have a little bit of faux satisfaction from bread making. Now you cover it with plastic wrap and just leave it on the counter for 3 hours. You don't have to put it in a particularly warm place, just out on your counter. So we'll check this in 3 hours and it'll be time to check the soup. Okay, I've had my rolls in this bowl, rising somewhat. It doesn't double in size, but it does rise and it gets bubbly. You can see it's kind of bubbly on top. And this is a really sticky dough. So we're gonna put it out on turn it out on my surface here. And you are gonna need to add a little flour. In the meantime, I'm heating my oven to 450 degrees. And let me just turn this dough out. Just gonna turn it over in the flour a couple of times just to make it so it's not all sticky. It's in real good shape. It's no knead. You don't have to knead it. So I've rolled it into this, or patted it into kind of a disc, and this makes 8 rolls. So I'm gonna cut it into 8. I'll do that by halving it, and then quartering it, and then cut each quarter in half. To make 8 kind of even rolls. I have a sheet pan here with parchment paper. Now you just kind of roll these up into a ball. Jenny says to gather the top like you're making a drawstring purse and turn it over. Very easy. I think I do better just by kind of folding the edges over and making it into a little roll that way. No punching down, no extra rising. Now I'm just going to cover the rolls with a kitchen towel and let them set about 30 minutes. Okay, here we are after 30 minutes, and I'm going to pop them in the oven at 450 degrees and cook them for 20 minutes. And here's my crusty rolls out of the oven. They got a little brown on the bottom. I wish that I would have taken them out at 19 minutes. I think my oven is running a little hot, but I just waited for the timer, so that's 20 minutes. But they sound good, and when we sit down, we'll tear one open and look at the crumb. Okay, I tasted this soup, and it's so delicious. It's really thick. I can't imagine what she did to it. Maybe added a bunch of water. I don't know. Anyway, it's so flavorful, I decided to skip the bacon, skip the calories, skip the sodium, and I just garnished it with a little bit of cheese and a little sour cream. Okay, I'll tear this open. Roy's already dunked a piece of his roll in the soup. How was it?
Excellent. Both excellent.
Oh, okay. Still hot.
Kind of southern cooking, huh?
Well, I don't know. It's just a roll.
Yeah. No, the soup too, though. What is it? Potato soup?
It's called loaded baked potato soup. And don't say southern. That's a nasty word.
Oh. Okay.
Yes, it's some exquisite southern cooking.
Hog jowls and collard greens.
And collard greens, yeah. With possum gravy. All right.
I love possum gravy.
Okay, I've got some butter on it. Don't film the beauty bite.
Okay. Hey, honey, where are the pot passers?
All right, it's delicious. Really crunchy on the outside, really soft on the inside, and has that homemade bread taste.